Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, we are awaiting the January jobs report, expected out in just 30 minutes, giving us a better view of how much stimulus our economy needs, as lawmakers were up late debating just that. Johnson & Johnson applies for the FDA for an emergency use authorization for its coronavirus vaccine, why some experts think this shot could be a game changer, and when it could see approval still ahead. And a bizarre crash sends a vehicle slamming into a hydrant last night in southwest Bakersfield, why police arrested the passenger and not the driver in this case. Today is Friday, February 5th, 2021. Good morning, Kern County, and thanks so much for starting your day with us. It is finally Friday, everyone. That means that the weekend is right around the corner. I'm Alex Fisher along with Maddie Jansen, and we're going to be talking about it a little bit later this morning, but today is Wear Red Day. Of course, we are kicking off Heart Health Month, which is so important, especially here in Kern County. Maddie, you were talking yesterday to a doctor about why it's so important every year, but especially this year as we deal with the coronavirus pandemic and how it's impacting our health.
Yeah, the pandemic has really brought a lot of those issues to light and made them more important than ever. So we'll talk about some ways that you can improve your heart health and the heart health of those you love today. And wear red just to raise awareness as you're getting dressed this morning. Let's check in with Kevin and have a look at your weekend forecast. He's also in red this morning, Kev, for heart health.
Yeah, most definitely wearing my red today, and the weather is looking quiet, and it's going to be very nice as we go throughout the afternoon. Take you to the satellite radar, and there's nothing really to show you. We are going to watch for maybe some patchy fog that may develop towards sunrise, and with that, dense fog advisory has been issued, not for the Bakersfield area, but areas to the north, up near Buttonwillow, Lost Hills, Wasco, and Delano. And you can see on our visibility index right now, things are looking good, so no major fog to report at this time. And you can see downtown Bakersfield looking good. We've got a temperature of 39 degrees under a calm wind, visibility 5 miles, and lots of sunshine in place for us today, and we'll be in the lower 60s. Out of Tehachapi, we've got 42 degrees and east-southeast wind at 8. And as we take a look at the day, lots of sunshine for you as well, and we're looking at the mid to upper 50s. I'll take a closer look at the weekend coming up in just a little bit. For now, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Kev. The Labor Department's monthly jobs report will be out in 30 minutes, shedding light on how many Americans are looking for jobs and how much stimulus the economy needs to bounce back. Lawmakers were talking about that all night on Capitol Hill. Tracy Ponce has the story, plus preparations for the Trump impeachment trial starting next week.
Good morning, Maddie. A couple of sources familiar with what's happening at the White House today tell NBC News that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will be there with a dozen Democrats talking to the president about COVID relief.
Rooted in America's most...
President Biden speaks on the economy today, hours after a new jobs report shows how many Americans are unemployed. Early this morning, after debating changes all night.
This amendment is designed to say, let's put American workers first.
Mr. President.
Senator from Illinois.
The solution sounds so simple, and it's simply wrong.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the concurrent resolution as amended is adopted.
Democrats cleared a hurdle allowing a vote on COVID relief to pass with no Republican support.
This is not the time for trillions more dollars to make perpetual lockdowns and economic decline a little more palatable.
The White House says President Biden will not reduce stimulus checks from $1,400, but may agree to send them to the neediest families.
We're fine with that idea. What we're not going to do is leave out large swaths of the middle class.
The Senate's also preparing for former President Trump's impeachment trial.
The trial will commence on Tuesday.
We'll see if it's going to be a Senate of courage or cowardice.
Mr. Trump's lawyers confirmed he will not testify. Democrats prosecuting the case call that evidence of guilt. One of Mr. Trump's lead lawyers says they're pulling together a witness list and will argue it's unconstitutional to try a former president. They're expecting the trial to last a week.
The White House plans to keep the president busy next week with events on the pandemic and the economy as if the trial isn't happening. One official said for them, it can't be over soon enough. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
Also making news out of Washington this morning in an unprecedented move. House lawmakers have formally stripped Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of her 2 committee assignments. With a final vote of 230 to 199 yesterday, Taylor Greene is now unable to serve on the Education and Labor Committee and the Budget Committee. 11 House Republicans voted along with Democrats on the punishment of the freshman Congresswoman. Taylor Greene spoke on the House floor before the vote to say there were words in her past that she regretted, but did not specifically apologize for her controversial comments. There was heated debate on both sides of the aisle. Republicans felt the resolution was an overreach, while Democrats called out Republicans for not taking any action.
In your 17 Crime Watch, yesterday marked 1 year since a deadly stabbing near an Oildale smoke shop, and the victim's family says justice has not been served. Tracy Scott Elliott was killed by a man who claims he had no choice. The family held a vigil yesterday outside Sunshine Smoke Shop, where Elliott was stabbed last year. The public defender argued Elliott had been harassing the suspect, 35-year-old Jesse Lopez, and his girlfriend for months. So Lopez felt like he had to stab Elliott before Elliott stabbed him. Elliott's family says he was a good guy and did not deserve to die.
We don't talk about it. Like, me and my mom lived like we just pretend like it didn't come pulling up one day.
Just, he was a good man in general. He went around no matter what. He would always care for other people before himself.
Yes, I'm going to object to the filming of this hearing.
Jurors spent days deliberating the case, but it ended with a mistrial in December. Lopez pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter last month. He'll be sentenced Tuesday, where he faces up to 3 years in prison. Time now is 5:07, and a crash in southwest Bakersfield last night ended with the passenger, not the driver, in handcuffs. And the Bakersfield Fire Department has a mess on its hands. Take a look at this. The crash happened around 9 o'clock last night on Stein Road in Pine Castle. That's just north of Panama Lane. Police say a car went off the road and hit a tree. It hit a fire hydrant, then came to rest against a tree. Officers say the driver and passenger in the car were arguing at the time it happened.
Female adult passenger intentionally grabbed the steering wheel and basically pulled the steering wheel to the right, forcing the motorist to lose control.
The driver and passenger suffered minor injuries, and the woman was arrested at the scene.
A man and one woman wanted for a robbery in Hanford were arrested here in Bakersfield. Local SWAT teams helped take Thomas Calistro and Sandra Sladen into custody last Friday at a home in Bakersfield. Calistro is accused of robbing a smoke shop in Hanford on January 24th. Police learned Calistro was staying with Sladen, who was on parole. Police tracked the couple's car and tried to pull them over, but they started a high-speed chase, reaching speeds of more than 120 miles per hour. Eventually, police tracked them to the Bakersfield home where they were both arrested. And police are asking for the public's help identifying 2 women wanted for attempted theft. Police say the women tried breaking into cars last month on Wakehurst Court near Stockdale High School. One woman's described as 18 to 24 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall, 130 pounds, with long brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. The driver is described as in her early 20s with long blonde hair and wearing a light-colored zip-up sweater and a black T-shirt. The vehicle they were in is a mid-2000s dark-colored Honda Accord. If you have information, call police at 327-7111. 17 Court Watch now. A man accused of stabbing a woman in the neck at a local motel made his first court appearance yesterday. 42-year-old Nicholas Stephen Imgren was arrested Tuesday at the Studio 6 motel on Knudsen Drive. The sheriff's office says a woman was sitting outside the motel when Imgren approached her from behind, placed her in a chokehold, and stabbed her in the neck. She ran to the motel office and called 911 and was later taken to the hospital. Imgren pleaded not guilty and is due back in court next month.
An appellate court has conditionally reversed the conviction of a man accused of driving under the influence in a high-speed crash that killed 2 women. Dontrell Collins was sentenced to 73 years to life in prison for the 2014 crash. Investigators say he was speeding when he rear-ended a car carrying 3 women on Rosedale Highway at Verdugo Lane. The woman's car burst into flames, killing 2 women and badly injuring a third. Prosecutors said Collins was not just drunk, he was also high on PCP. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced in 2018. But now an appeals court is looking into claims a prospective juror was dismissed because of racial bias. It could lead to a new trial if that claim is proven. Well, if you are a Delano resident and trying to get a hold of the police department, you might have had some trouble as their non-emergency line is down right now. The Delano Police Department did not say why the line was down, but they did say AT&T and ShoreTel are working to fix it. In the meantime, you can still reach them for an emergency, of course, at 911. And they've set up a temporary phone line as well for non-emergencies. That temporary phone number is 667-3055. From our 17 follow-up file, and the search continues for 2 missing boys out of California City, with city officials there confirming last night that the reward for information on the boys has now been up to $120,000. It has now been 46 days since 3-year-old Orson and 4-year-old Orrin West were reported missing. The chief of police says his department has received around 2,500 tips, and they followed up on every one of them. If you have any information about where those boys could be, you're asked to call the California City Police Department at 760-373-8606 or the Secret Witness Line at 322-4040.
February 18th will mark 1 year since firefighters Patrick Jones and Raymond Figueroa were killed while fighting a blaze at the Porterville Library. Because of the pandemic, a public memorial won't take place. Instead, the Porterville Fire Department said it will release a memorial video on the 1-year anniversary of the firefighters' deaths. The video will be made available on the Porterville Fire Department's Facebook page February 18th at 4 p.m. The memorial video will include an honor guard ceremony and speeches from family members and other community leaders. We're back here at 521 and making headlines around the nation this morning. A New Mexico State police officer was shot and killed yesterday following a chase, according to authorities. It happened on Interstate 10 in Deming, New Mexico. Police say the officer was among several law enforcement officers hit in a shootout after the chase. In video that surfaced on a local social media account, a white single-cab pickup truck is pushed by New Mexico State Police and travels in reverse before the driver exits the vehicle and fires a gun at officers. After the gunfire stops, police walk over to the suspect and appear to kick the gun away from his body. Police say the suspect has died and investigators are reviewing the scene. 66 ice fishers were rescued from Lake Michigan yesterday. The fishers became stranded around 9 a.m. near the mouth of Sturgeon Bay. The Door County Sheriff's Office says the anglers were stuck, quote, due to the pressure cracks. The Coast Guard says it took about 4 hours to get everyone safely back to shore. Thankfully, no injuries were reported.
Well, as the saying goes, never miss a chance to take your shot because you never know who's watching. Take a look at this. A custodian at an Ohio middle school was seen on security camera completing his daily rounds yesterday morning. That's when he saw a basketball on the gym floor as he was throwing a trash bag away. So he picked it up, calmly walked to midcourt, then flipped the ball backwards with one hand over his head and hit nothing but the net. The custodian's reaction was just as casual as his approach. He flung his arms over his head, then grabbed his vacuum cleaner and trash bags before walking out and continuing on with his day. Pretty incredible to see for sure.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back to your 17 Business Watch. And Kohl's says its sales are starting to rebound. The chain said fourth quarter sales were down about 10% year over year. The retailer says it got a boost at the end of the holiday season thanks to the influx of shoppers coming to its stores to make Amazon returns.
This Super Bowl Sunday may be different than previous years due to the pandemic, but there are a lot of opportunities to get in on the fun virtually. Liz McLaughlin explains.
Verizon is going on the offensive for the big game. The carrier investing more than $80 million to install permanent 5G deployments in Raymond James Stadium and surrounding Tampa.
We recognize that this is a different year, so we've taken the opportunity to really build out an amazing set of experiences.
That 5G connection allows fans attending in person or at home to toggle between multiple camera angles on the NFL app in real time.
They can be essentially in multiple places inside the stadium at any one time. It also allows them to do their own playbacks and replays.
At a time when it may not be safe to host a Super Bowl party in person, fans can tune in and interact virtually with the free Watch Together feature on the Yahoo Sports app. Or those watching on Hulu Plus can use Teleparty to share a screen. You can even hang out in virtual reality.
You can use an app like Big Screen, and there are a few others where you guys can have basically almost a movie theater to yourselves. You're really sitting in your houses by yourselves with your headsets on, but it feels like you're there.
If you're not a diehard fan of the Chiefs or Bucks, gamers can get in on the Super Bowl fun with Verizon's new activation in the popular video game Fortnite.
I see that.
Fans can play 4 football-related games in the virtual stadium and uncover hidden surprises.
There's going to be all sorts of events and games where NFL players play against famous Twitch streamers.
A variety of high-tech ways to join the excitement of the big game. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.